Hey everybody, Jared here, and as many of you know, I am the Associate Professor and Chair of Game Design at the Cleveland Institute of Art, where amongst the classes I teach is board game design. Well, recently I came across a game from my childhood, one that I've been wanting for a long time. There was a replica edition that came out a few years ago, but I found recently a good, clean, old copy of Star Wars Escape from the Death Star game. Ooh. I had this as a kid. I loved this as a kid. I have fond memories of this as a kid. But as a game design professor, what am I going to think of this now? And the answer even surprised me. So let's unpack this game and see what can we learn about game design from this, and I'll give you a hint, very cool and still successful board game. I must tell you that when I had this conversation with my students, I was like, all right, here, out of curiosity, who here hasn't seen Star Wars? And not surprisingly, a couple of them haven't. And it's okay, by the way. It's my childhood, it's not theirs. And if they want to watch Star Wars, that's fine. But they're like, I go, who here hasn't seen Star Wars? And someone raised their hand, and I'm like, all right. Well, a long time ago in a galaxy, and everyone laughs because most of them have seen it. But even those who haven't seen it know enough about Star Wars for this game to actually be still very, very playable. Unlike my Lost the board game back there, which we'll do a whole nother video about bad game design for. But today, Star Wars, Escape from the Death Star. Let's begin. All right, no fan music here. The new one, by the way, has like a cutout because there is a Grand Moff Tarkin figurine that comes with it, but this one is actually older than that. Here it is, all your characters ready to go. Nice little Kenner logo and a really, really funny illustration. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Yay. Ah, the board. Now, I'll get back to the board in a second. It does have the directions. The directions are really fun to look at because when you look at the directions, all you're going to see is trademark, 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 trademark. I mean, every single thing here is trademarked. At one point, it's Leia, Luke, and Chewbacca trademarked. Death Star is trademarked. Millennium Falcon is trademarked. Hyperspace is trademarked. TIE Fighter is trademarked. May the Force be with you is trademarked. This little game has so many trademarks. First things first, the entire directions fit on a single sheet of paper. That is a plus to me. I want short directions. It's for 2, 3, or 4 players, and we'll get back to the rest of this in a second. But a single sheet of paper, nothing on the back, and of course, there it is, 1977. All right, what does it come with? Well, it's got a spinner. Now, some of you don't like spinners. I actually like a good spinner. This is cardboard, but it's actually held up quite well, and it's got a good spin to it. It'll R2-D2, 1, 2, and 3, or win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. Of course, in a modern terms, I could easily do this with a D6 and just have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and then win, lose, win, lose. So I could do this with two D6s if I wanted to. We'll get back to the good stuff here in a second, but it is complete, which I'm really happy about. Now, let me open up the board, and voila. Ooh, it's so pretty. It starts over here at the trash compactor. And you'll see over here, you've got the tractor beam, the detention block, you've got the control room, the Millennium Falcon, and of course, the Rebel base. Now, the game starts at the trash compactor, it ends at the Rebel base. This game is literally one short sequence of the entire movie. And before I actually began this, I actually went through and said, when does the trash compactor sequence end? And it's 1 hour and 25 minutes into the movie. And when do they land on the Rebel base? Well, that's 1 hour and 39 minutes into the movie. So this board game literally represents 14 minutes of the entire movie. And I think that's really fun when you think about like how much of something you're dealing with here. Someone said, I've got an idea. Let's take 15 minutes of the movie and turn it into a board game. And what's funnier is there's another board game that happens afterwards on destroying the Death Star, which I don't have a copy of, but I will be getting soon. And that's literally just another sequence. So you almost ask yourself, how many board games could they literally have turned Star Wars: A New Hope into? But here you go, starting here, ending here. That is the entire duration of the game. And that's pretty wild. Now, this is in fact a roll and run game, and some people hate roll and move games. I actually don't. I think a roll and move game can be good if it's well designed. Now, most roll and move games, like a traditional game of Goose or a Snakes and Ladders, of course, have no choice in them. And when you start looking at how you turn a game without choice, where you just literally roll and move into a game with choice is done in several ways. The first one is you create multiple paths. And that's what's nice about this game, is that it isn't a linear game. As a matter of fact, even the starting point is different. Whether you're green, yellow, red, or blue, you have different starting points, which does actually create sort of a difference here. Even though the game is symmetrical, blue and green have the same experience and red and yellow have the same experience. But if you're red and you're green, you're literally two different places on the board that you have to work with. So that is actually kind of interesting when you look at it from a balance perspective. It's slightly differently balanced. The other cool thing here is again, there's branching here. So you get to decide how you're going to get to the end. And so that's really where choice comes into play. So when I talk about roll and move games, I tell my students the first thing you need to know is that the moment you put in multiple paths, you've created an opportunity for strategy, for decision making. And so there you go. You've got this multiple paths here to get here. Now the goal is to get from the trash compactor to the Millennium Falcon for the end game, and then from the Millennium Falcon to the Rebel base. But along the way, you must stop and turn off the tractor beam. And of course, you must stop and pick up the droids because you need the Death Star plans. And because of that, this game is for 4 people, there are actual 4 different Death Star blueprints. They're all the same, by the way. And of course, once you have it, this becomes a key that you can't advance here until you've actually picked this up. So that's the one thing you have to pick up along the way, your little side quest. And then the other, of course, is the tractor beam. And if you successfully turn off the tractor beam, then you get this little wonderful little piece of artwork of the tractor beam. So you have to have both cards picked up before you get to the end. So now you have a task. You've got to go from here to here and to here before you get to here. You get to decide what order you want them to be in. That's part 1. So interestingly enough, you've got multiple paths and you've got sort of 2 things to pick up along the way. Now, one of the things that I really like about this is that no matter how you play the game, you start at the trash compactor and you end at the Rebel base. There's no alternate universe going on here. There's no, oh my God, are you going to, not blow up the Death Star? You will make it from here to here. Who do you play as? Well, if you're the green character, you play as both Han and Chewie and Luke and Leia. You actually have 2 pieces. And by the way, if you're the red character, you also play as Han and Chewie and Luke and Leia. And if you're the blue, you also play as Han and... This is where it gets weird. Because what you don't want to do is be stupid and say it's Han and Chewie against Luke and Leia. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't match our story. So basically, the trick to this entire thing is that you're trying to be the best Han and Chewie and Luke and Leia. So no matter what happens, someone is going to be the victor. And the victor isn't really about, oh, I made it. It's that I made it there first. I am the most successful one to rerun that part of the movie. Now, because you have multiple pieces, you actually have more levels of strategy, because now on every turn, you get to decide which piece you're going to move, which is the second thing that I talk to my students about when you're making a roll and run game. If you want to create strategy, in addition to making multiple paths, you have people have multiple pawns, so that after you spin, you get to decide which one you move down which path, which is really useful because you've got 2 places to work here. So now you've actually gotten some really decent game design here. You've got multiple paths, you've got multiple pawns, you've got a side quest, and we'll get to the end game in a second. I really, really appreciate that they're staying true to the story. They're not saying, well, you can play out the Star Wars universe differently. They're letting you relive. And remember, back in the day, unless you were going to go to the theater again or read the book or play the comic book or play with the toys, there wasn't a way to see the movie again. So games like this allowed you to re-experience the movie. And again, it's my job to be, am I going to be the best version of these, or are you going to be the best version of these? And I like that. I like that because otherwise you create these scenarios that don't make sense. We're not in competition with each other. You can't change the characters. You really can't change the story, but what you can change is how you experience it. I'm going to run the story better than you are going to run the story. I'm more authentic than you're more authentic. But there's another aspect to the game which is a little bit surreal when I read it to you. Because the question that comes up when you're playing any sort of board game is, can 2 pawns occupy the same spot at the same time? It's a fair question. And let me read from you the rules, because it's a really funny answer. More than 1 token can occupy a space on the board as long as they are not like tokens. If your Han Chewbacca lands on a space in which there's already a Han Chewbacca, send the token occupying the space back to the trash compactor. So there's a little bit of a gotcha element. And I say gotcha or a take that element because it's voluntary. You choose to send somebody back, but only if it's the same character. Now, why I think that's funny is normally you would say, no two people can occupy the same space. But what they're really saying is since you're trying to be the best Han and I'm trying to be the best Han, we both can't occupy the same space at the same time because that doesn't philosophically make sense. So it's really high level thinking. It's not, oh no, we can't occupy the same space. It's the same characters who are really vying to be the true Han or the true Luke or the true Leia. Only they can't occupy the same space. And of course, that one sends back. So they've got this one little gotcha or take that element. So it's really, really fun. But wait, there's actually more to this game. And it's not that complex. It's ridiculously easy to play. But if you land on one of the blue spots, you have to draw one of these force cards. And these force cards are things like win lightsaber duel with Darth Vader, move ahead 3, move Luke to Death Star DS3 to continue. I love this. These are like a jump move. So some of them are relatives, move ahead. Some of them are absolute, which is sort of like the chutes and ladders. And of course, that may be behind you, it may be in front of you. So it really does have that sort of snakes and ladders, chutes and ladders thing. But interestingly enough, some of these things are really, really fun. Here is Outwit Grand Moff Tarkin, spin again. But around the way, there is one card I am looking for. Luke and Leia need your help, move Han Chewie to join them. So that's a neat one. So these things are really, really weird. The Force is with you to escape from detention block. Well, so there are times that you're going to have to go to the detention block. And this card, if you have it, allows you to free yourself from the detention block. So now we have an added element of a currency, something that you can use if you have it but don't have to. So let me go back to the detention block. Of course, if you draw a card that tells you have to go to the detention block, if you roll a 3, you get out. And if you try 3 times and you don't get out, then you get out on your next turn. So that's sort of a nice thing there. And what's neat about this is that when you're in the detention block, you have another character. So you can choose whether or not you're going to focus on the person who has to get out or not. So it's kind of an interesting one. Again, all these dynamics here, but again, you've got a currency. So you've got some random elements, you've got strategic elements, you've got take that elements, you've got all these things. You've got multiple pawn, multiple paths, all the things that we teach literally in my intro to board game class as the fundamentals of building a board game. And it's all right here. And even some deeply philosophical things where the story makes sense. Again, 14 minutes from end to end, and it isn't in conflict with what you're trying to do. So cool about how well designed this little game is. I don't even think it was meant to be this well designed. But wait, there's more. When you've done everything that you need to do, and there's a lot of by exact rolls. By exact rolls are always fun, especially when it's a 1, 2, or 3, because it's not that big of a chance, but there'll be a lot of missed turns, but the turns go quickly. So skipping turns is a dangerous thing. People hate skipping turns because you have to wait for the other character. But if the turn doesn't take that long, skipping turns isn't deadly. Skipping turns is only deadly if turns are very, very long, and that's a long process. What are you doing on someone else's turn? But anyway, when you get to the end, you have to land exactly on the Millennium Falcon, and then we'll turn the camera around. So once you get to the Millennium Falcon, you actually start to go over here into hyperspace. And of course, you start by spinning your spinner. Yay, 3. Now, these two now move together, and I can move 3, and I can move in any direction I want. So I could go 1, 2, 3, which of course, actually it's 1, 2, 3, which is fair, and of course it's safe. Or I could go 1, 2, 3, and I'm on a TIE fighter. Now, if I land in a TIE fighter, I spin again, and if I win or lose. Now, if I win, I get to go 1 space forward. If I go 1 space forward and I land again just on stars, that's it. It's the end of my turn, but I continue off from there. However, if I wanted to be really bold, I could go over here and I can have another dogfight, and I can spin again. And I lose, but if you lose, you go all the way back to here. So there's a little bit of a press your luck element here. You can be timid and just, carefully navigate your way through, or you can go all the way out, and it just depends on how the spinner works. And again, if you wanted to, you could press your luck all the way to the rebel base and win, or you can have to go all the way back. So that's kind of a neat little dynamic right there. It's amazing. So you've got a take that element. You've got a press your luck element. You've got multiple pawns. You've got multiple paths. You have currency, and you have sort of a chutes and ladders, moving forward, moving backwards, randomized effect, all within a game that has a valid story in a short amount of time with characters that stay true to their character. Doesn't get better than this. And here's the best part. It's fun. It was fun when I was a little kid because I had this game. And I'd be honest with you, it's fun now and it's good game design. So if you have an opportunity to pick up Escape from the Death Star game, I would highly recommend it. Tune in next time. Well, when I pick one up, there is the sequel to this game, which is where you get to destroy the Death Star. And I've been wanting one of those for a while. Again, a Star Wars Escape from the Death Star, pretty awesome. And as always, please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Ooh, and share. Like, subscribe, follow, and share. Ooh, and comment. Like, subscribe, share, follow, and comment. Yeah, that's right. Do it all. Thank you.